Hey guys, so I want to do something a little bit different. I released a video today and I was talking about a shift I had on Thanksgiving a couple years ago, and I talked about how that shift and my experiences during that shift have kind of molded the way I work ever since then. Today is Thanksgiving. It's still Thanksgiving. It's in the evening. I'm home from work. I worked today, and I thought it would be maybe interesting to come home and kind of talk about how my shift went and just kind of talk about what it was like working today on Thanksgiving. I mentioned before that my family goes out of town for Thanksgiving, so I'm home alone, and we're going to celebrate this weekend. So no turkey dinner for me. I'm having my turkey right now. This is wild turkey rare breed. So my shift today, I had a couple of interesting runs. I'm trying to think in what order. You know, my day wasn't actually that interesting. I didn't take that many runs, but I did have one run that was memorable, and that was really the reason I thought I would sit down and have this record this video today. So it was right around lunchtime. I know it was right around lunchtime because I had just purchased my lunch and it was in my car. I follow this food truck on Instagram, and they posted on Instagram that they were going to be open today. So instead of eating the lunch that I packed, I went and got food from this food truck. I got a gyro and I got some falafel, and it smelled amazing. I'd never eaten from this food truck before. I just follow them because I park by it all the time. So I was really excited to go back to the sub and eat my lunch. It was like 11:45. I think I was heading back to the sub, and the dispatcher sends me on a run. I had to pull a Yui, head back the opposite direction, and go take care of business. So the call was, caller stated somebody was sitting on their back porch wearing, it was like a gray hoodie and sweatpants. Caller doesn't know who they are, doesn't know what they're doing, and wishes to speak to officers. So we pull up, my buddy Jeff and I, and he got there immediately before me, and I just see this guy kind of walking out with his hands up, and my buddy tells him, hey, let's go back on the porch because it was raining a little bit. So we go back onto this stranger's porch, and we're talking to this gentleman, and he's telling us about how he's kind of homeless. And it was hard for him to say that he was homeless because it was a new thing for him. He was dating this girl, and they split up about a month ago. And since that time, he'd been staying with his mother or grandmother. Might have been grandmother because he wasn't much older than me. And he wasn't able to really stay with her because she lives in a nursing home. So I don't know how this guy had been kind of living in a nursing home, hiding from the staff. I don't know what he'd been doing. Maybe he just pretended to be a visitor and sat on the chair and then hid when it was time for everybody to go home. I don't know. But this story kind of turns out like my kid who was sitting at the bus stop story. That's why I wanted to tell it before I forget. So he said he'd been trying to stay with his grandmother at the nursing home, and he wasn't allowed to do that. So today he went over to the part of town that I work at and was trying to stay with his buddy. And he said, I went to my buddy's house, but my buddy wasn't there. He must be at work. We talked a little bit about his history. He said he'd been in prison multiple times. It was kind of obvious from the tattoos and stuff that he had. And it was a white guy. It was a very tall white guy. He said that he went to his buddy's house. His buddy wasn't there. He must be at work. So we're talking about things. He's talking about his history. He's talking about his history of drug addiction. He's in treatment, I guess you would say. He's taking Suboxones, which some people consider themselves clean when they're on Suboxones. And what I said to him, I was like, oh, so you're kind of half clean. And he said yes, because Suboxone is just a drug that you take so you don't take a different drug. I don't know, kind of the lesser of two evils, if you ask me. So then I asked him, and it was very fresh in my mind because I had just made that other video, or I had just watched it at least. I asked him, hey, do you know what day it is? And he kind of looks at me and he's like, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm not really sure. And I told him, I was like, it's Thanksgiving, dude. And this guy, he is 44 years old. He's like 6'4", not very big, probably 200 pounds. Really lanky guy. Beard, prison tattoos, like his fingers were tattooed. You can tell that he's been in the game. Let's just put it that way. I'm not judging people with tattoos. It's just I know what tattoos look like, and I know what certain tattoos mean. And he just, that's the moment that it struck him that his life was completely spiraling out of control. He looks down at the ground and he kind of pauses for a minute. He's like, man, he's like, I didn't know today was Thanksgiving. And then he kind of talked about how, you know, he's like, I always really enjoyed Thanksgiving. I always enjoyed getting together with my family. He's like, now my family won't talk to me because I'm a drug addict and all this other stuff. And it was just one of those moments. One of those moments that few people get to actually see with their own eyes. And then we were talking about why he was on that porch, and he takes his shoes off and he goes, I'm not lying, man. He's like, he took his shoelaces out of his shoes so that they would hold his pants up. So he's wearing shoes with no shoelaces, and he takes his shoes off and he's like, I lost my socks. He's like, I got blisters on my feet so bad, and it's raining, my feet are waterlogged. I couldn't go on anymore. So I stopped. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, please tell the guy who lives here that I'm sorry that I'm sitting on his porch. So we talked about that for a minute. My buddy Jeff went over and ran him for warrants. He didn't have any warrants, so it was time for him to go. And I'd been asking him, what are you going to do? And he just kept repeating over and over again that he didn't know. So we talked about going to talk to somebody. He said maybe he'd go to like a mental health facility, but then he said, no, I'm not really suicidal. They'll kick me out. And then he talked about trying to get into treatment. He said that multiple times. Said that he's been to treatment before, but it's never worked. And maybe right now is his rock bottom. He's realized that this is the time to go. So when Jeff was done with him, he went and talked to the homeowner, and I looked at the guys like, let's get up. I was like, my car's right over there. We're gonna go get some socks. So the guy hopped in my car. We drove over to Dollar General, which is quite a scene when a police officer walks into Dollar General with a guy who's obviously homeless and addicted to drugs. Everyone looks at you. And so they're all looking at me. I had their attention. I said, hey, do you guys have any socks? Sorry. I'm still catching my breath from my workout tonight. So they directed me towards the socks. Went over. I don't need to hem and haw about the socks, but he picked out some socks. We bought him a big pack of socks. And man, it was really cool. It was a good moment because do I have to actually mention, like, here I am, a police officer with this guy who's a felon and a drug addict. He's hit rock bottom. He's walking around with no socks on. His feet are waterlogged and he's got blisters all over him. And I was the one that was able to help him in that situation. So we get to the checkout and this girl is checking us out. Not, you know what I mean? She's cashing us out. And he starts telling his story to her. He's like singing my praises. You know, he's like, oh, you wouldn't believe what this police officer is doing for me, whatever. And she actually was like, you know what, hon, I understand. She's like, she just got out of like the penitentiary. She did like 6 years or something like that because she did some serious things. And now she's like, you know what, I would much rather have this life than that life. She's like, the money, she goes, I wasn't addicted to drugs, but I was addicted to the money and the lifestyle. And she goes, but you know what, I'll take my $11 an hour working on Thanksgiving Day as a cashier over that life any day. And then, you know, so they had like a little moment, a little connection. It was pretty cool. Because this guy has been living as like a subhuman being. And here he had someone who was, I don't know if I was treating him like an equal or not. I don't know how he viewed that in his opinion. But he was extremely humbled by that situation. And then I asked him, I was like, you know, would you like to go talk to some people about treatment, some stuff like that? And he said that he really would. Well, I just happen to know of it's like an AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and NA type of place that, from past experience, on the holidays they usually run the building 24 hours a day. There's always somebody there. I said, you know what, I know a place that I can take you and you can talk to some people. So we drove to this place, and I've walked people in before, and every time I've ever walked anybody in, they've been greeted with open arms. It's a miracle place. They do really good things with people there. So we pulled up, and the parking lot was absolutely full, and it was more people than I've ever seen there before. Now, when a police officer in uniform walks into a place like that, naturally everybody turns and looks to see what's going on. And I didn't want to become the focal point. And sometimes I feel like I'm imposing on these people when I bring somebody in, because they feel that because I'm coming in with a certain level of authority, that they don't have a choice but to accept this person. And I just want it to be a genuine experience for this guy. So I got him out of the car and I said, look, there's the door right there. If you walk in, they'll talk to you and they'll appreciate you coming today. And he was very grateful. It was a good interaction with each other. Told him that I'd keep an eye out for him, and I will. If I see him again, I'll stop and talk to him. And he turned and he walked for the door. And before I could get back in my car, this older gentleman with a white beard, was walking from the back part of the parking lot towards me. And I recognized I had talked to him before. I think he's one of the leaders of this, whatever this group is. And he looks at me with a big smile and he goes, man, I'm so glad that that you guys are out here working today. I've said it, I think I've said it 1,000 times, like there's a real connection between the police officers in these communities and the people who live in these communities. And the folks outside of that world don't know. They don't get to see what really goes on. So it was really nice. So I let the guy out. I hopped in my car and I just left. I was hungry and my food smelled really good. So I went back to the sub and ate and had a really nice meal. The rest of my day today was spent, there's a house where there's a gentleman who has a lot of warrants, and he's made a lot of threats towards people in this house. And I promised them that I would keep an eye on their house and stop and try to arrest him if he came around. So that's what I really spent the majority of my time doing today. And I didn't see him. I did stop a couple of cars and I scared the crap out of a couple of like older gentlemen. Stopping them for stupid reasons like failing to use a turn signal. But I was looking for somebody that was going to be on that street, and these guys were on that street and they didn't use their turn signal, so I stopped them. Once I figured out it wasn't the guy I was looking for, I actually told them exactly what I was doing, and they were very grateful for my efforts. And I told them, hey, have a happy Thanksgiving, take care. I'm not going to write tickets on Thanksgiving. I don't write tickets for turn signals anyway. So then my day was over. I came home to an empty house, which isn't a big deal. It's not. I'm happy to have the house that I have and have the family that I have. I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and some beef that I had in the refrigerator. And then I jumped on the rower. I have a rowing machine in my garage. I did a 10-kilometer row tonight, preparing myself for the feast that I was going to eat. I turned the oven on before I got on the rower and threw a sweet potato in the oven, so I had a sweet potato in the oven baking. I did my workout, which I recorded on this camera, and that might also make it onto my channel. I don't know if you guys want to watch, but I rode 10 kilometers in 41 minutes and 40 seconds, which is something I'm pretty proud of. I like to do really hard workouts when I'm home alone. It's almost like meditation for me, especially on the rower. You just kind of get in a groove and you get going. It's incredibly difficult, but I enjoy doing it. And then I grilled up some steaks, and I grilled up 2 T-bones. I ate them both. Probably about 2¼ pounds of meat. I don't know what that is in grams. It was a lot. And then I only ate half the sweet potato. Had a glass of wine. And now I'm having a little sip of bourbon. I'm hoping that my stomach settles down, because before leaving for her parents, my wife bought me a piece of cheesecake from a really nice cheesecake place that I might do a review on that place sometime in the future. So I have a piece of cheesecake in the house waiting for me. That was the other reason I wanted to do a really long workout. I needed to burn some calories to get ready for the meal that I'm about to have. So that's really about it. Once I get done with this, I'm going to edit this up, probably schedule it for Saturday release, because Friday is donut day and I don't want to interrupt donut day. But I'm just going to go in, enjoy the rest of my night with my dogs. I've got about 2 more hours before I go to bed, and that's about it. So, oh, and I told you that I bought a meal for a family that I've been working with, and I communicated with that family today, and I got to see some pictures of their Thanksgiving meal, and that made me very happy too. So I wanted to share that with you guys, that the people who we bought food for, they had a really nice day, and that makes me very happy too. So I had a very good Thanksgiving. People often, when they think of first responders and everybody, and think of how they have to work on the holidays, it's usually this like look of sorrow that you get from people. Oh, I just remembered the other story. I'm gonna have to tell that in another video. But people always look sorry for you. Like, they're like, oh my God, I'm sorry you have to work on Thanksgiving. You have to be away from your family. But it's really not about that. Like, being at work on a holiday is actually kind of a special day for me as well, because I get to experience the holiday with a bunch of people that I wouldn't be interacting with if I didn't have the job that I have. Sometimes that's a lot better than sitting at home and hanging out with people that you do know. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. I feel like I'm rambling on a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and button this up. Thank you for watching. I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving. Even if you're not in the United States, you don't celebrate it, I hope you had a wonderful day. We're coming up to the Christmas season now. I think the majority of my viewers do celebrate Christmas, aside from a few, which that's fine too. I don't know. I hope you all are having a good time going into the Christmas season. I don't know. I hope you're all blessed with happiness. We don't all have material things, but we can all make the best of the situations that we're in. So that's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon.